The truck is doing okay. I've ran into some issues, and hey, this was a learning curve on this trip too, just to address some of the situations. One of the main problems being is just battery capacity. I'm not utilizing the truck chassis batteries, and I just don't have enough battery capacity. You know, my refrigerator and just the systems in general, I mean, it's running the battery down. So I got woke up about 4 o'clock this morning, you know, with the battery alarm going off for dead batteries. We have a generator. I have a battery charger with me, so I'm not worried about that, but it's just a learning curve. As far as battery capacity goes, already been addressed. The lithium battery was delivered actually to the house on the same day that I left to come up here. So anyway, when I get home, I'll get these 2 small AGMs out and I'll get the lithium in there, and that will solve a world of problems just in that by itself. Other situations I've run into, I don't know, I've got to have like a return on my my battery shunt hooked up wrong or something, because I'm just not seeing like accurate measurements on what we're drawing versus what we're putting in. And so like right now, I've left the generator running with the battery charger on at 20 amps, and the battery charger only shows that we're like at 20% capacity. I mean, it has taken a full 20 amps. But for some reason, the battery monitor only shows that we have like 11 amps going into the batteries, and that we're at full capacity, but yet the voltage is down low too. So I don't know. Anyways, voltage and capacity do not correlate to each other, so don't take that. But anyway, I'm just gonna have to go through all the systems again to make sure I've got not like a return hooked to the wrong side of the shunt or something. So that's just you know, little learning problems and learning curves and things that will get fixed. And like I say, fortunately, I have the generator running. I have 2 propane tanks on it. One of them is empty. I do have it with me just in case we run into a place out here that I can exchange it. I'm going to go ahead and get another full tank. I left the house knowing that both of them were maybe a quarter, half at most. So yeah, not too worried about that either. So let's help resolve that battery capacity issue with this dude right here. Yes, sir, we have picked us up a lithium battery to go in there in place of those 2 really tiny small AGMs. So we picked this dude up right here. As you can see, it is a 300 amp hour lithium iron phosphate. Most people refer to it as LiFePO4. Anyways, lithium battery here has a built-in smart BMS inside with low temp cutoff, high temp cutoff, overcharge cutoff, low voltage cutoff. It can, as you can see, it can take a maximum of 100 amp charge, and we can discharge this thing up to 200 amps before the BMS will limit the power output. Well, we got our lithium battery in that I had ordered. This is a 300 amp hour lithium battery. I ordered it out of a warehouse out of New Jersey, actually. And don't knock me, right? It was cheap. So we're going to try it and see what happens. It's advertised at 300 amp hours. So look, if I only get 200 amp hours of lithium out of it, it more than quadruples the amount of capacity that we had before. And, you know, I have high hopes. It had great reviews that it actually come in and tested. Many of them actually come in at like 305 to 308 amp hours based on what I saw online. So anyway, it was $225 plus tax, guys. So that's a $250. Shipping was free. 300 amp hour lithium battery, built-in BMS. It can discharge at 200 amps. It can charge at 100 amps. It has built-in thermal protection, low temperature shutdown, high temperature shutdown. Whether or not all those work, well, I really don't care. The battery is going to be in a very protected environment in here, so I'm not worried about all the temperature extremes and everything like that. One of the main reasons why I got this was, so this is what we had in there temporarily. These are two AGM batteries, and they were 90 amp hours is all they have in them, right? So we had 180 amp hours, but we can only use about 50% of that. So you see what I mean? These batteries right here are $220 something a piece, and that was $225. So anyways, you know, how can you go wrong? Again, it has a 3-year manufacturer warranty, so why not give it a try? It's cheap. The other reason why I chose this is for this reason right here. It's super light, but the main thing is because you can take lithium and you can go boom on its side just like this, and it fits exactly in there like a glove. So there we go. So I know I had done, trying to catch you guys up again, we had done a previous video on making our HDT truck more RV by putting in a house battery system essentially and a chassis battery system. Okay, now here's another thing that we are going to help debunk today, and that is, can you mix battery types? Lithium and liquid lead acid, or even AGM batteries. The short and simple answer is yes, you absolutely can mix them. And all you naysayers, fine, go ahead, do your own research, whatever you want to do. Okay, the slight drawback is we are going to combine our 4 commercial lead acid batteries we have underneath the truck for the truck systems. We have a cutoff switch inside. We're going to combine that with our lithium battery. Our lithium battery resting voltage is 13.2 volts right out of the box, right? Our liquid lead acid battery resting voltage, as you saw in the little video clip earlier, was 12.8 volts. The truck's been sitting here for a couple of days, okay? The liquid lead acid batteries and the AGM batteries do not mind resting at a slightly higher voltage, okay? As long as you are not constantly charging them, especially a liquid battery, right? If you are constantly charging a liquid battery, then it's going to off-gas. That acid is going to eventually boil itself out, right? If, however, those two battery types are mixed and there is 0 amps being drawn, then those liquid batteries are going to rest stable, even though they are resting at a higher voltage, okay? They charge at 14 volts to begin with. Our lithium battery, yes, will charge at 14.2 to 14.4 volts. So yes, it would still take a higher voltage to fully 100% charge our lithium, but we're still going to get at least a good 85 to 90% capacity on our lithium battery until we add our DC to DC charger, which we are going to. Once we do that, these systems will become isolated. We'll charge this to the full 14.4 volts, 100% capacity. Until then, though, we're going to mix them. It's no problem, okay? What we are going to do is we are resting at 13.2 volts on the lithium battery right now, okay? Let's get this dude back out of here, and I will show you that, all right? So let me grab my little handy-dandy meter here. Let's get all powered up. All right, we're going to set our DC voltage here. Let's go ahead and set the hold function, and let me measure these right quick, and we will be right back. Alrighty, so we have measured the resting voltage of our lithium right now, 13.2 volts, okay? So what we're going to do here is, whoops, I've got the battery charger on the chassis batteries. I have 4 commercial series liquid lead acid batteries mounted underneath the truck, okay? We're going to charge these to 100%. We're at about 78% charge right now. Now, if we check our voltage, we're charging at 14 volts, guys, okay? We're going to get these batteries fully peaked charged. So our nominal voltage on these is going to be resting at a high voltage. We're going to match the battery voltage. Boom, right? Once those voltages are very close together, click, we will connect them two together. Nothing is going to happen. There's not going to be any magical fireworks are not going to go off or anything like that. It's simply going to equalize the battery voltages. What's going to happen is the lithium is going to keep our liquid batteries resting at a little slightly higher voltage, a higher shelf state, but they're not going to be taking a charge, okay? So there's not going to be any problems. This battery is ran through the shunt system for the house components, okay? All of the components downstream of this lithium go through the shunt, right? The truck systems are wired directly to these batteries. So when we crank the truck, essentially we are really, I know it's all theoretical, we're not going to necessarily be pulling current from the lithium battery. If it does, this has a 200 amp BMS built into it. That is a 500 amp shunt. This is a 300 amp fuse, all right? In the video again earlier, you saw when we cranked the truck, the highest amperage that we drew was 89 amps. See where we're going with this? You can mix these two chemistries and be just fine, all right? For now, again, we will not get 100% lithium capacity, but we will keep these batteries resting at a higher voltage, which is actually going to help the truck crank easier, okay? I do have a DC to DC coming. Once that coming, we will isolate these two systems and we'll be running entirely off of lithium, okay? So that's it for now. I'm going to get that hooked back up, get my batteries peaked, flip them on. Again, there's not going to be any magical sparks, no Star Spangled Banner stuff going off or anything like that. We will now have lithium capacity for the house systems, keeping our voltages resting at a higher system. All right, there we go. Okay, so we've got our lithium all hooked up. It's tucked back up in there. Obviously, we've got all our cabling hooked back up. I have my main disconnect right here shut off right now, isolating the two battery banks, the lithium versus the liquid batteries. And we are resting at about 13.3 volts. Now I do have about 1/10 of an amp draw through the shunt right now. And that is probably because, well, A, we're powering the shunt. The shunt is powered off the battery. The inverter is hooked up. It's not turned on, but you know, it does have capacitors and stuff in it. The refrigerator is tied into that battery bank. It is not turned on, but it is technically powered up on the board. So there's systems that are just naturally going to draw a small amount of current. That is 1/10 of an amp. Literally, the meter is maxed out at 99.59 hours of capacity left. So that's fine, okay? Again, our battery charger has brought our voltage up on the chassis batteries now to about 13.4, and we are resting at 13.3 on the lithium. So we are going to go just like that. And as you can see, they are just simply going to balance out. Still less than the lithium is giving up less than half an amp. So we're on the positive and it's glowing green like that, okay? That means that we're giving power out. Plus. So plus 0.4 amp that the lithium is actually giving up to the chassis battery bank right now, okay? We will go ahead and flip the inverter on. See if anything happens at all. So when we powered the inverter up, you saw it jumped up a little bit just to get everything charged, and now the inverter, the fan and everything has shut back down. It is just resting. So again, we are still giving up barely half an amp draw right now. And look, nothing happened. There was no explosions, no fire.
We got you. We're here.
I'm on fire!
Okay.
Oh,
It's all right, you're not on fire.
I knew it, you're lying! I'm burned! I'm on
There is no
fire!
fire.
I'm on fire!
You're not on fire.
No sparks, no nothing. So now what we're gonna do is I got this camera set up facing directly at the monitor so that I can get up here, and we are going to crank the truck up. So let's get this one to recording, and we will see what happens when we crank it. Now I know it's going to draw through the shunt to the lithiums because the truck does take a lot of grunt to get it to start. So again, we can draw 200 amps out of the lithium without the BMS shutting it down. So let's see what happens. I suspect the truck is going to crank very quickly because the natural resting state of the voltage is a little higher now. Ready? Contact. There we go. So let's get into the menus here. Yes, I know it's inoperative. We're underneath the cover here. So let's go to gauges. Cycle through here until we get to, there we go. Alternator is charging at 13.8 volts. And it is giving out less than 7 amps actually going into the batteries right now. There you go. Lithium hooked to liquid lead acid batteries. It's just feasible to do. It's fine. I know that there's been a lot of mysteries through all the years about don't do it. You can't mix battery types like that. Yes, you can. Still, it's not 100% efficient for the lithium. We are still going to add a DC to DC so that we can get this voltage ramped up to 14.4 and top this lithium battery completely off. Right now I have the capacity set at 295 amp hours, even though it advertised at 300. We will do some discharge charge cycles so that we can see what the voltage does, which is not a correlation to capacity. However, we will see what the voltage does over a long period of time with running the refrigerator, the TVs, the microwave, blah, 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 blah. And then we can do, we'll gauge like basically a capacity type test, and we'll see whether or not we're just shy of the 300 or whether it's actually giving out a little bit more than the 300. And then we can go in there and adjust that. So I have the shutdown parameters for the shunt and everything set kind of tight right now. I have full voltage set at only 13.2. My low voltage alarm is at 12, and then I have an 11.9 volt shut off for the shunt, which is very conservative right now for the lithiums. So there we go. A little bit more going into the HDT becoming an RV. Voila. Case closed.